Schefter, good morning. What is the very latest on Antonio Brown and where he may wind up?
Well, let's be very clear. Seattle and Antonio Brown have not started out on contract negotiations, but I think there's a real sense and belief that he could wind up in Seattle if and when this process plays itself out, which could be sooner rather than later. Antonio Brown is in a situation where basically he has to be suspended through Week 8. He's eligible to be reinstated after Week 8. He could play as early as Week 9. Once that happens, at that point in time, again, we'll see who takes a run at him. But the Seahawks have had Russell Wilson in contact with him, Geno Smith in contact with him. Both players have worked out with him. So they've been tracking him. He's been tracking them. It's a logical fit. We'll see whether this happens. Is
there another place we should be looking, or other specific places you've heard we should be looking?
I think there are other teams that are testing the waters, feeling it out. I don't want to say it just yet because, again, it's speculative, but there are some teams out there that have been essentially reaching out and monitoring Antonio Brown, shall we say.
Bear in mind that we're heading into Week 7, so you just do the math in your head. Week 8 is just next week, really, as you think through the course of this. So we are coming up on this. Schefter, stay close by. Let me bring the crew in for this morning. I mentioned Damien Woody is here, and Lewis and Domonique are with us this morning as well. Good morning, guys. And Lewis, let's start with you. Does it make sense? Should the Seahawks sign Antonio Brown?
I would just be very skeptical of doing this kind of thing, considering, Greeny, the kind of offensive chemistry that they already have. Look, I understand how talented Antonio Brown is. I understand that this is a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver, that we know that when he's on top of his game is uncoverable. But just think of already the synergy and the chemistry that they have with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and how Russell is already off to an MVP start to his season. The issues with Seattle are not their ability to strike and be explosive on offense. Their issues, quite honestly, are on the defensive side, where they want to generate more consistent pass rush, where they want to be able to make sure that they can close out games and shut people down when they need to. Offensively, they haven't had an issue right now. So look, this would be something that obviously would push their offense over the top, so to speak, from an explosive component standpoint. But now you're introducing into your locker room something that you don't know as far as how it's going to gel with everything that you have going on there. And I know that there's people there who believe as though they could make sure that this still heads down the right path. And Russell's a great leader. And guys like Geno Smith have vouched for him. And we know that Pete Carroll is one of the great all-time leaders in the NFL from a head coaching perspective. It just seems very risky to me for a team that right now seems to be hitting on all cylinders.
Nick, you like it?
Nah, not at all. I mean, I think AB is a unique personality, and I think Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson probably work well with some unique personalities, but AB is a different kind of unique that I'm not sure that these guys are quite ready for. And there is every bit of a chance that he could come in and be fine and not cause any issues and be a great player, and I would understand taking that risk if you were deficient at receiver or you had some problems on offense, which it doesn't seem like the Seattle Seahawks have. I would look, if I were maybe the Ravens or the Eagles, teams that could use a playmaking receiver that's healthy and impactful. Maybe those are teams with stable organizations that would look at taking him. But honestly, if I'm running a franchise, the risk is not worth the reward with AB at this point for me.
What do you think, Damien Woody? You like the idea of Seattle? Do you like the idea better of a place like Baltimore, where they don't really seem to have a number one?
I don't like the risk. I don't like the fit with Seattle, because it seems more of like a luxury rather than a need. I mean, this is a Seattle Seahawks team. They're clicking offensively. Why disrupt that type of energy, synergy that Lewis referred to? A team like Baltimore, now that would be interesting, because the one thing we talked about with Lamar Jackson is, the perimeter passing game. That area of the Baltimore Ravens offense could use a guy like Antonio Brown, a seasoned veteran, a guy who's, adept at just creating all types of mismatches one-on-one in the passing game.
Yeah.
I could see that, because they're a strong franchise with John Harbaugh.
I'm told Schefter wants to jump back in here. Schefter, what else do we have?
Well, I don't see Baltimore unless Antonio Brown were fully exonerated. And there are still issues out there pending against him that have not been fully resolved. Baltimore, with its history, with the way it went through the Ray Rice situation and issues, I don't think that organization would go in that direction. It's made it almost an organizational policy not to sign or acquire any player that's had any history like that since Ray Rice has happened. So to me, Baltimore wouldn't be an option unless Antonio Brown were fully and completely exonerated, which to this point he has not been.
Right, and it certainly seems to point out the timing again. That's not going to happen. We wouldn't expect in the next 2 weeks. And so there really are two separate parts to the story. It's good that Schefter brought that up. There's the football fit, and then there's the other side of it that he just brought up. Nick, let me push back a little bit on the idea that maybe if you're taking a chance on someone like Antonio Brown, a luxury is a better way to do it than something that is a necessity. If he knows he's a luxury, if you know that if it doesn't work out, you can just pull the plug on it without it necessarily taking apart what you're trying to build, if he is a luxury rather than a necessity, maybe that actually is a better circumstance than the other way.
I love that as a logical way to approach this, but I'm not sure what AB has done in the past couple of years, at least publicly, that suggests that he behaves according to logic in the same way that we behave. So I'm not sure. Nothing to me suggests that AB would understand or would appreciate or can curtail his behavior that's detrimental to a team just because he's a luxury and he doesn't have the power of being needed. Like, we can look at the money that he's lost and the bridges that he burned in New England, like none of that was logical. We can look at the videos that he posted of himself, and we can look at him taking shots at Juju Smith-Schuster, and it all seemed like he was putting that stuff out there like he thought that was going to make him look good. And we all looked at it and was like, logically, none of this makes sense. So it seems really odd to me to somehow believe that all of a sudden that logic is going to influence the way he makes his decision. You have to understand that you're taking a risk, and the reward is very, very high if he can play to his best ability. But there will be some costs for.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.